so you gotta just.
Good morning. I'm Charlotte Jones, co-host of the John Telford Detroit Show, coming to you every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock on WJZZ Cool TV. Also streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Dr. John Telford is a former Detroit Public Schools superintendent, a former world-class athlete, conqueror of Olympic champions, a championship track coach, poet, newspaper columnist, a longtime civil rights crusader, and author of 7 books: Creative Insubordination, What Old Men Know, The Will Robinson Story, The Poetic Prancings of Mad John, The Poet Emperor of Earth, and his explosive autobiography, A Life on the Run. Plus, another upcoming poetry book, Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs, a Detroit poetic epic. His books are available on Amazon.com or by calling 313-460-8272. That's 313-460-8272. Dr. Telford has been called a legend and also a lightning rod for controversy, a recipient of the City Council Spirit of Detroit Award and the Joe Louis Foundation Spirit of the Champ Award. He was named Wayne State University's Alumnus of the Year, and a Detroit track is named for him. His email is drjohntelfordedd@aol.com. That's dr.johntelfordedd@aol.com. Dr. Telford also has a show on WCHB AM 1340 that airs on Saturdays at 9:30 in the morning and Mondays at 6:30 in the evening. That's on WCHB AM 1340, Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and Mondays at 6:30 p.m. And now, without further ado, I present to you that old native Detroiter, the one and only Dr. John Telford.
Thank you, Char J, also known as Charlotte Jones, author of A Ain't Always for Apple. A Ain't Always for Apple, an erotic adult alphabet book. And this is one heck of a book. Everybody needs to get a copy, but just don't show it to any little kids. My name, you were going to say something, Char?
No.
My name is Detroit. I'm a blue-collar town. Blue salt melts my mid-March snow. Speedy cars and sprinters spring from me. I father fierce fighters and funky music. In a Motown moment, I can spit the blues right back in a bureaucrat's eye. Have you never seen blue salt? No complex chemistry here, only the old color of a new sky. And there's a new sky dawning on Detroit today because we have got Tim Moore in the studio today.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome, Tim. We had Tim Moore in the studio today, and last week we had him in the studio too. But last week, we had a guy who really didn't know what he was doing because he tried his best, but he try as he might, he couldn't get the show going. We had technical difficulties. But for local, national, and world news from an honest and straightforward urban perspective, I'm inviting my listening audience on WCHB and WJZZ to also tune in to DETIPTV.com, because we've got the CEO of DETIPTV.com sitting right in the station today. That's Detroit Internet Protocol Television, DETIPTV.com of the Urban Information Network. It's an insightful program. And a matter of fact, Tim has been doing me the favor of running my AM 1340 show on it every day until November the 8th, because I happen to be running for the Detroit Public School Board. I am running for the Detroit Public School Board, and Tim is supporting me in that endeavor Char is supporting me in that endeavor. Everyone is supporting me in that endeavor because we all know that the current administration has been unable to teach our children to read. Now, if we don't teach our children to read, what is going to happen to them? The last time I heard that there was a graduation percentage, the percentage I heard was 21%. That's been a couple of years ago. And that 21%, most of them are girls. So what is going to happen to those young men? They're going to go on the dole, they're going to go to jail, or they're going to go to the graveyard. So we've got to fix that program, and that is why I am running for the school board. But today is not about my school board race, although I have to say something about my school board race every day. I'm not feeling real good today either. You know, I passed out this morning, but I wasn't going to miss this doggone show. Because this guy here was my half miler. He ran the half mile under 2 minutes at Detroit Southeastern High School back in 1963. I can't even remember the year, Tim, but it was a while. But that's when I was coaching there, and you know, I went to Southeastern and coached, you know, right out of college, and I had been All-America sprinter in college. So I used to work out with the kids, and the kids would say, I would say, we're going to run 6 2:20s in 23 seconds on the straightaway. No, we can't do that, Coach. That's an impossible workout. Well, then let's try to do 6 of them in 22.
I remember those wind sprints.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how long ago, but I remember the wind sprints.
Yeah, you guys would tell me the workout was impossible. I said, no, it's not. We're going to do it together. Because then I was...
You know, I remember also the way we passed the baton. I think you changed that.
Yeah, I did.
You changed that, and I don't know if you got that from someplace else, but I know everybody adopted. I tell you what, not everybody, but quite a few schools adopted where they just the runner didn't turn his back as he got to the baton.
What I did is a safe pass. A safe pass. I made a little thing where you could just hit the baton in there and he wouldn't miss it, because you know you guys were so fast it didn't matter. You were already so far ahead. I didn't worry about having to reach back and grab the baton, you know, because you're going to win anyway. My kids at Southeastern and Pershing and Finney and all those places I coached, but particularly Southeastern. You know, we had George Wesson, the state quarter mile champion, 49 seconds flat. Yeah, you know, that was when we just got it back into the state meet. And, you know, they had kept Detroit out of the state meet. Detroit was in the state meet in the 1920s and 30s, winning everything with Eddie Tolan and John Lewis, and they said, "Hey,
through Miller High."
And yeah, the Miller High guys, you know, Lorenzo Wright and company. I mean, you know, we were winning so much that they said, "Just let Detroit have his own meet," you know.
That was unfair for the rest of the state.
That's right. And from early 1930s to 1962.
Wow.
They kept us out. And then the Civil Rights Movement with Martin Luther King Jr. Got us back in again. But all the time that Henry Carr was running, Cliff Hatcher was running, I was running, and we all of us, you know, had the best time in the state. You know, Carr had the best time in the world. He broke the world record. And we got a whole hour, so we can talk about this too, you know, Tim. We can't. No. Well, we got to talk about it a little bit. I can, you know, I had the longest long jump. Interestingly, you know, I was known as well as a long jumper in high school. I was a sprinter, but Carr had the world record, and Cliff Hatcher had run a 48.8 in 1951 at old Detroit Central High School in the quarter mile. And the record stood for a city record for 20 years, but he never got to run it in the state. It was the fastest time in the state.
But you know, Doc, that was a while ago, but how they that was discrimination back then.
You bet it was.
Ramifications today. Sometimes people can't see the connection on events, but denying Detroit to be a part of the state athletic league, that affected a lot of lives.
Yes, it
so
did.
They continue to today, and that discrimination is still here in various forms. Maybe in different forms now, but it's definitely here.
Well, Jim Crow lives, man. I mean, he's
Yeah.
wearing Italian tails now, you know. Jim Crow, James Crow Esquire, you know,
Right.
but
Right,
he's still lurking in the hinterlands, and not so much in the hinterlands. He's right up front.
And I think that's part of what we do in the media is we show those connections that may not be apparent
Yeah,
to people
yeah.
today.
Well, you've been doing that. Yeah, you are not only a former great half miler. You know, you are a journalist par excellence, and you tell the truth. And you
I don't know
you
about
come
all
out.
of that, but
Well, we're going to be interviewing you on that and on some other things. Incidentally, you know, still talking about track just for a minute. We're trying to get an indoor track in the city. Finally, a big one.
wow.
We're trying to get it over at Chandler Park because
Wow.
they're putting a dome field house there.
Okay,
And
I heard that.
and I've been calling for a 200-meter track to be put in there,
Mhm.
you know. And I hope you're listening, Councilwoman Mary Sheffield, you know, Mayor Duggan. You guys are going to see this because I'll be sending it to you anyway. But Councilwoman Letitia Johnson, who's over in that area in District 4, Dennis Bryant, who's the chair of that community group. But anyway, we've got Tim Moore, the great Tim Moore, my old half miler, on the John Telford Detroit Show on WJZZ Internet TV today. So Tim, give us some more background on yourself.
Wow. well, I started off I started off actually on the east side. I went to actually my family started off. I was born when we lived in so-called Black Bottom,
Oh yeah.
and I remember my mother. Because we were actually living with our my grandparents at the time.
Okay.
I think we had about 2 or 3 families in the same house, almost like, you know, people talk about how the immigrants when they come to
Oh yeah.
you know, they have multiple families in one place. But finally, my father got a job enough for us to buy a house on the east side of Detroit, and so we moved over there, and I remember going to an elementary school there, Hutchinson, and it was mostly white. It was definitely mostly a white school, and I remember, and as we talk about education, I remember myself and Jimmy Hurd was 2 of the smartest kids in the school. So this was back like in the 50s, and so so they picked us to go to classes. I just share as I look back on things like that. I kind of related to what's happening today, but we went to classes for gifted kids, and so that was back in the 50s. So the teachers, I mean, they picked us to go. So the teachers knew that black kids were capable then.
Oh yeah.
And
Yes.
so, what's the problem today?
Well,
You know.
black kids are capable then. Black kids are capable today. The problem today has been that takeover. You know, when they took over the Detroit Public Schools, totally unwarrantedly,
Yeah.
in 1999, the test scores of our students were at the state midpoint and rising
Yeah.
under a superb superintendent named Dr. Eddie Green. But here we are now in 2022. The test scores are totally in the toilet. They are the worst in the country. The only worst test scores in the country are the charter school test scores right here in the city of Detroit.
That's insane.
Yeah, well,
That's insane.
it's
We're
not.
tolerating.
It's not only insane; it's criminal. And this,
Especially when we know the kids are capable.
oh my God! You remember?
Especially when we know they're capable.
You remember John Powell at Southeastern?
No, I remember him well. Still
John
talking.
Powell, you know, I have taught at every grade level. I've taught college, I've taught university.
Mhm.
I've had some superb students. Well, John Powell, African American John Powell, Detroit Southeastern High School 2-miler, back in the 1960s, was far and away the smartest, brightest kid
Really?
I ever taught.
Wow, that's Southeast.
And he was an African American kid.
Mm.
And now, of course, he's at the University of California
Yeah.
at Berkeley. He's
Yeah,
got
all
a
over.
chair there.
Yeah.
He's an authority. on urban studies. He consults all over the world.
Yeah. Yes, he
This
does.
is John Powell. And I got a whole lot of potential John Powells who are sitting in my classroom right now over at Frederick Douglass who have not been taught to read.
Yeah.
They can't read. And I don't know whether to get sad or mad. I guess I'm madder than I am sad. But you know, I was kind of sad last night when I was Virginia Starkey and Miss V and I were at the school board meeting, and as we have been there, you know, for several about past 6 months we've been there and said our piece and did it again last night. But you know what made me sad last night? We're not pulling together. There's a group of folks of whom I number. You know, a lot of them are National Action Network folks. I'm a lifetime member of the National Action Network. You know, Helen Moore's the education chair, and they come and they rag on the board. You know, I know this board hasn't done everything that they should have done. I think they recognize they haven't done everything they should have done. I think it's starting to dawn on them now, hey, maybe we better teach these kids to read. So let's all work together. Let's stop fighting with each other. Let's stop criticizing each other. We're all Detroiters. We all want our kids to learn to read. We want our kids to excel. So let's stop picking on each other. I don't. Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong about that. I know it's time for a commercial.
Yeah. You're watching the Dr. John Telford Detroit Show live on WJZZ Cool TV, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like us, follow us, share us, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world.
And you know, while I'm on the topic of the fact that the kids can't read, you know, at the board meeting last night, James Beasley was there. He's a superb researcher, very knowledgeable.
Yes.
He's the researcher for Jim Hare, who is the CEO of the Quick to Learn program. Jim Hare came out of Cass Technical High School. He is the much younger cousin, matter of fact, of Ralph Carter, you know, who was my teammate on all those champion relay teams at Wayne State. He was also the Marine Corps quarter mile champion. But the program, that Quick to Learn program, when I was superintendent, and Lamar Lemons, you know, bless his heart, Lamar Lemons was the guy that recommended me for the superintendency back in 2012. And Lamar Lemons and I and the good school board we had at the time were hell-bent on putting the Quick to Learn program in so that the kids would be reading well at the elementary level in third grade. But the then emergency financial manager prevented us from doing that. And then when Public Act 436 kicked in, and made him the fully qualified emergency manager, he disempowered that board and fired me. So I'm trying now to run for the board to convince this board and administration that we've got to put that program in because it's evidence-based, it's research-based, it's field-proven, and if we put it in, we can now teach our kids finally to read. So hopefully that will happen, and hopefully I will get elected to the board. But today we are interviewing Tim Moore. Give us some more background on yourself, Tim, because I interrupted you a little bit, and then we had the commercial.
Well, actually, when I started off, at least in high school, I really didn't have the money to go to college, and so my mother said, well, she worked in the factory.
Okay.
She said, well, you ought to be skilled trades. You know, she said, because they make money and they don't work hard. So, so I actually had started working on I was working on production at Chrysler and going to school full time. So I had, full time education. As a matter of fact, every time I got a break, I would sit down and study, and the guys used to laugh at me. Why are you doing that? I said,
How old were you then?
I want to get the hell out of here.
How old were you then?
20 years old.
Yeah.
18, 20, but
Yeah.
So anyway, the apprenticeship test came up. I passed the test. Wanted to be an electrician, but they said they didn't want black guys and to be electricians for some reason I don't know. But they said, well, you can be an electrician in 2 years. We'll have an opening, or you can be a tool and die maker now. And so I so I wanted to get off of that line, so I chose tool and
No,
die.
I understand wanting to get off the line,
Yeah,
man.
because you worked in the factory.
Oh
right?
God, my dad took me in a factory when I got put out of Northwestern High School, and I never would have gone back to school. My mother had to
Right.
come home to back to my father. But yeah, hearing those machines screaming in your ears, I
Yeah.
remember saying to myself, I don't know if I want to do this the rest of my life.
No, people
yeah.
get killed in there, those stamping plants. But anyway, I got into a tool and die, and actually from that, I went back to school. While I was studying, I got skilled trades, 2 year skilled trades degree, and I taught high school at Davis Academy. I taught machine shop, and it was because of what I learned in as a tool and die man.
Davis Academy.
Yeah, I taught there.
You're talking about the airplane school?
Yeah,
Oh wow. Okay.
taught there for about 5 years. Really enjoyed it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was quite an experience because
Okay.
my family had a pizza place at the time,
Oh yeah.
and I remember we had a clothing drive, and because I was a new teacher, I got that assignment. Okay, so anyway, so I told the kids, I said, listen, I said whatever class brings the most clothes in, we're gonna have a pizza party, and which individual who brings the most clothes, we're gonna give them a plane ride around the city. So that way I got the whole school involved. So those kids started bringing clothes. They started bringing clothes, and they was bringing them by the carloads. And we actually, I think it was about 240 kids at that Davis Academy at the time. We raised more clothes than any school in the city.
I remember there was a guy at that ran that academy for a while. Can't remember his name. I remember.
Well, Ed Rocket was the principal at that.
No, I'm talking way back. You know, when I left Southeastern for a while, I was coaching at Finney, and I was training the kids on the flat floor in the gym. He made me some banks so they could run around the gym and have banks. You know, indoor running. I can't remember the guy's name, but anyway, that was.
Well, one thing about having that journeyman's card, I meant to say I had a vocational education degree, but one thing about having that journeyman's card in tool and die, I was able to use that to teach high school, and I moved out to California. I got a sales engineering job. I had 11 Western states, so you can do a lot, depending on what your interests are, with skilled trades degree. So, but anyway. Eventually, I did what I loved the most is that, got into having my own business because I started the pizza place with my family, and I sold that my interest to them and still helped them, but found out about internet TV and got into that.
Well, slow down a little bit. So, tell us about the pizza business experience.
Well, the pizza business. Well, let me see. We started off. With a store on Lafayette and Shane. It was one of the first strip malls that they actually built in the city of Detroit, and we found out about that, and so we started trying to get financing. Actually, my mom, she put up a bulk of the money. There's no doubt about that, but we still had to borrow some money. So we probably literally went to every bank in the city to borrow money. And I remember going to a NBD bank on Woodward and Jefferson, and we did a proposal. And at the time, we was like, I was 26, my sister was 25, and we did the proposal for them. We gave it to the business loan department. They looked at it and they said, "Wow, this is pretty impressive. Who did this?" I said, "We did it." And they said, "Well, wow, we shouldn't have any problem with this." So anyway, we submitted to them. 2 weeks later, they said no because black people don't eat pizza.
Oh, wow.
That's what they told us, man. So anyway, we shopped around, and actually, my mom and my sister had pretty much given up. But for 6 months, I drove around the state, to Grand Rapids, Flint, talking to people about giving us loan. And one guy, and actually I think Grand Rapids, he told us about the SBA. What's the SBA? So we applied to them, and we got the loan. And that was actually during the Nixon administration. The same time we got that loan, because he was trying to get the black vote, he actually gave CHB the first black TV license.
Really?
And when we opened up the store, the first day we opened up the store, we were the first store, and they're having I think they had a celebration recently. We were the first story one of the first stories they did when they opened up and started broadcasting their station.
Okay, all right.
Blocker, I think.
And you know, before I forget, I made a couple of promises. Andrea Darnell is the owner of Motor City Music. Wanted me to say this. I hope that all. Oh wait, I don't have it in there. I'll come back to it. I'm sorry, Andre. I thought I had your program and I don't. But you know, we're interviewing Tim Moore, and you've accomplished so much, Tim. You know, what in your upbringing influenced you the most to do what you're doing?
My mother.
Your mother, okay. Isn't that interesting? Our mothers, you know,
Yeah.
our mothers are always the power behind the throne.
And she just passed away earlier this year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
She actually, my mother had a 10th grade education, but she was able to do some things. And actually, when we got the pizza place, she was actually the biggest depositor in the local bank that we had, Bank of the Commonwealth, as a matter of fact. And she used those funds that she had to back the pizza place. And she actually, she was a major influence on my life because she did so much. In addition to raising 7 kids by herself.
Oh, wow. So how do you go from pizza
Wow.
to internet TV?
That's a good question. I've always been a minor historian.
Uh-huh.
I worked with a group called ASCAC, that was Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations. And our study group, we used to bring in guests. We used to do things for the holiday. And I was selling telephones at the time. One of my reps asked me had I heard about internet TV. What's internet TV? He said, well, it's just the television signal that comes through the internet instead of cable. And so right away, I saw that would be a great opportunity because I could disseminate this information that we had as far as our history and bypass the censorship of cable and the high price of being in cable. So I got involved in that. And, when I found out that eventually, and it's certainly happened at a quicker pace now, that all the money that people are spending on cable and advertising on cable, it would be coming to the internet, and that's exactly what's happening. So, we started building. We started off with Detroit IPTV, and we have 17 affiliates around the country.
Okay.
And so our goal is to be the #1 media platform. Because we've been, all the major networks, they come into this space, but we've been in this space from day one. We understand the technology. And being the oldest operating internet TV network, I tell people, not the oldest black, the oldest period. And so to be based here in Detroit, to be run by African Americans, and I'm a senior, we just defy the odds.
I never see you as a senior, you know.
Well, I definitely am.
I'm kind of caught in a time warp, being almost 87. But, I think of you as being a 17-year-old kid,
One time, yeah.
Yeah.
But Doc, I think because a good buddy of mine, and John Sadler.
Oh, my man, Johnny Sadler.
John Sadler, he just retired from the insurance business. He's a millionaire, by the way. But he's in shape, and I think the camaraderie and discipline that we learned on the track and being coached by you made a difference in our lives.
Well,
There's no doubt about that.
Coach Cholis and I, we used to push you guys unbelievably, and of course I was running with you. Nick wasn't running with you, but I was running with you. But Johnny Sadler, I can remember, he ran a 49.8 quarter mile when he was in the 10th grade.
Yeah, John, he's been a winner all his life.
Oh
man.
yeah, he was something
If
else.
I didn't love him so much, people could be jealous of him. But he's been a winner all his life.
And he was running on that football team. He was in the backfield, and we won the city football championship.
Yeah.
Nick Cholis coaching, and Southeastern won the city football championship. We were winning everything on the track. Them was the days, man. I loved those kids, and I'm still in touch with a lot of them. Reverend Arkels Brooks,
Oh, yeah.
my quarter miler, John Powell, Johnny Sadler, George Wesson, guys who could fly.
As you talk about those guys, all of them have made contributions to this society that enrich everybody's lives that they come in contact with. And so we have kids that have that same capability here in the city now. And when you deprive these children, you deprive American society about the contributions that they can make.
That's right.
It's horrible. When I taught machine shop, no, actually, well, that too. But I had a limousine service at one time, and I remember some of the guys that that would hire my cars. They were drug dealers, and they would spend sometimes $2,000 or $3,000 a week for 2 months, and then they would disappear, and they was either probably dead or in jail.
Yeah.
But these guys, without, in some cases, a high school education, they built corporations really that had marketing, distribution, quality control.
They were businessmen.
They were definitely businessmen.
Oh,
they
yeah.
didn't go to the Horton
Just on
Business
the
School.
wrong side.
So when
Yeah.
when we don't educate our children, we cheat all of society.
You got
Not
that.
just the children, but all of
You
society.
got that right. You know what is it that the schools say now? If our kids rise, we all rise,
Yes.
and that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
So let's get cracking on it, Dr. Vitti. You know, let's get our kids to rise because right now they can't read. But
You're watching WJZZ Cool TV, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world.
thank you, Char J, for that station break. Char J, author of A Ain't Always for Apple,
Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Volume 1 and Volume 2, an erotic adult alphabet book and books, more than one book. My activist colleague and fellow poet, Tawana Petty, informs me that on Saturday, the 1st of October, at Hunt Street Station at 2200 Hunt Street in Detroit, from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock p.m., there will be a fabulous evening of storytelling and great food. It's a fundraiser for Central Woodward Community Partnership, a fundraiser for Central Woodward Community Partnership. And for ticket information, email this email address, griotandgrub@gmail.com. Now I'm going to spell that. GRIOT and A-N-D, write out the word and, Griot and Grub, Griot and Grub at gmail.com. And again, that fabulous party is going to be an evening of storytelling and great food, and it's going to be at Hunt Street Station at 2200 Hunt Street in Detroit. And we are interviewing the great Tim Moore, my old half-miler from the old days at Southeastern High School. Tim, do you want to talk any about your experience in the pizza business in Detroit, or did we already cover that
We
enough?
already covered
Yeah,
that.
that's
I want to know what exactly is IPTV.
IPTV is Internet Protocol TV, and it's simply a TV signal that comes through the internet as opposed to cable.
Okay.
And actually, when we talk about the media business, at one time, we started off with the radio, which was developed during World War I, I'm sorry. And so when the war was over, the government, the people who were working the government, they gave radio licenses to their friends, their wealthy friends. And so they started off, I think, CBS, I don't know if ABC, I know CBS was one of the original ones. But during World War II, they invented television, and they gave the contracts to their wealthy friends and contributors. But when cable came around, they couldn't openly just discriminate, but they made the price of admission so high that you had to have a lot of money to get into the cable business. Well, with the internet, it's different. If you have some determination and time to learn the technology, it's open to everyone. But most people automatically cede this space to these big corporations because they've owned everything before in the past. But it's not like that. It's open to like I said, we're the oldest operating internet TV network that's out here now. Now, there may be some companies that started with us and are still here, but they were either bought out or closed.
So how long, you say the oldest, how long have you been?
About 12 years, 12, 13 years actually. We've been doing that.
It's been that long. Wow.
Yeah, it's been a struggle. You know, it's but anything that's
Remember you
worthwhile.
interviewed me over in Grand River that time, and it seems like it was maybe 10 years ago, was it?
No, I remember interviewing you at your house over there.
That too, but I came over to your place on Grand River too, and the guy who interviewed me, he's passed now. I'm trying to think of his name. Yeah, he was. Real,
Cliff Russell.
Yeah, Cliff Russell. Good,
Yeah.
good man.
Oh yeah,
real
yeah.
prominent guy.
That was a loss for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
He was one of my best. As a matter of fact, you know, sometimes with the host now, sometimes we have to prepare questions. But Cliff, you just sat him down with somebody, he just take off.
Oh,
And,
Cliff was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shared an office with him. He and I and Pete Petros were in this office when Pete and I were executive directors under Burnley in the Burnley administration. He was a fabulous guy,
Right.
very, very knowledgeable guy. Cliff Russell. He used to have a program. Did he have Black Journal or something?
Black
American
Journal.
Black
Yeah,
Journal.
That's what Stephen Henderson hosts.
Yeah. Stephen Henderson has it now. I've been on with Stephen Henderson, and I was on it with Cliff Russell.
Yeah.
In fact, I was on it, I think, when the guy in Los Angeles got beat down by the cops, and there was a
Rodney
big,
King.
yeah, Rodney King.
Mhm.
But anyway, let's get back to.
Yeah,
let's
no,
get-
but I feel privileged to be in this business because we have information. As a matter of fact, we probably have more content on the black experience more than any other company outside of maybe YouTube and the Library of Congress because we've been doing it so long. But it is certainly a privilege and an obligation to have a job where you educate people and tell people the truth. Because quite frankly, a lot of the history that we have been told, and
Oh,
the
you
truth
got
is like
that right.
180 degrees from that.
Oh, you
It's
got that
unfortunate.
right. Yeah, the Gone with the Wind version of Black history, right? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Man.
That's one way. So no, it's an exciting business, as you know. That's why you're here. But in this business, especially if you're reporting on events and interviewing people, you know, we're out in the field. We get to go up front. You know, sometimes they feed us, so it's really it's an exciting business to
They
be in.
feed us.
It really-
I want to bring you to talk to my kids at Frederick Douglass, and you know, talk turkey to them. You know, give them the straight dope. They will hang on your every word. I'm sure.
yeah.
Will you do that, Tim? One of these?
I'd be more than happy
one of these
to.
Monday
I'd
mornings
be more
that
than happy to
get-
because I came from the same neighborhood that they're in now.
Yeah, well, you sure did. And you know, believe it or not, so did I.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up on 16th Street in McGraw. It was in a better time, but we had some battles. And you know, I'm doing my poetry over there, but I use my poetry to teach life.
Mhm.
You know, I'm teaching life.
Spoken word, they call it now, really.
Yeah, the spoken word, and I'm speaking a lot of words about politics too. Matter of fact, I do that on WCHB. Also, I'm always calling for Trump's execution. You know, I'm probably the only first broadcaster, at least in the country, that called for that. I'm still
You
calling
know,
for
Doc, excuse me for cutting you off there,
it.
but
Sure, go ahead.
I would suggest talking to some of these young African Americans that support Trump and find out why, because they are definitely out there.
Yes.
They are definitely out there.
They are out of their minds.
Well, but they don't see, if people don't know, if they hear one thing and look at their reality, this is what they understand. So, but if you get them on and talk to them and find out why they feel that way, because they are definitely out there. And when we ignore them, it's at a cost.
Well, no one has educated them and had
That's
them
part
do a
of it.
little research. I mean, Trump was keeping African Americans out of his apartments.
Mhm.
He is.
They don't know that.
He's been discriminatory.
Yeah.
He's a stone racist, and always has been a stone racist. And on top of that, of course, now he's a racist and everything else just as bad because he's a treasonous. I'm not going to say
So
the
most
word.
people don't know what the word treason means.
They don't.
Yeah, well, he's a traitor. He's a traitor to this country. You know, don't get me started on Trump
Yeah.
because we got to. I want to talk about all of your experiences. You know, what exactly is DETIP-TV? What is it precisely?
Detroit is we're like channel 2, 4, and 7, except we're on the internet.
Okay.
The parent company is UIN Urban Information Network, and DETIB-TV is one of the Detroit affiliate.
You have some affiliations with Chicago too, don't you?
We operate ChicagoIPTV.com, New York IPTV.com, WDC IPTV, ATL IPTV, which is Atlanta, Philly IPTV, Houston IPTV.net,
So you have several.
Minneapolis IPTV.com, Bay Area IPTV.com, Lansing IPTV.com, and SoCal.
And what is the benefit of IPTV?
Well, we can get information out that the major networks don't particularly care about.
So can you say stuff that Channel 7 can't say and do stuff that Channel 7 can't do?
Yes, we can, but we report on things that 2, 4, and 7 may ignore.
Okay.
That's more important.
Okay.
They have a different, despite them saying we're one of you, we're in your neighborhoods. No, that's not the case. So we can talk about things and report on things from our perspective. As a matter of fact, this whole movement with black media on the internet, their voices, their narrative is being heard more because we're closer to the situation. Brown and Case, they was going to drop that because they wasn't even going to investigate that until really black media put pressure.
Well, what case was that?
Breonna Taylor, when they
Oh, yeah,
house
yeah.
and murdered this
Oh yeah,
beautiful young black lady in her
yeah.
bed.
In her bed.
in her bed.
They wasn't even going to investigate that.
Mm-mm.
Armand Arbery in
Oh yeah,
Georgia.
oh yeah.
They wasn't going to investigate that, but because
Yeah.
the black media reported on it, the major media have to pick up because if they don't want people to start looking to us for information, so they have to report on things that we
Right.
talk about because a lot of the news that people hear is about our community.
Yeah, they've tried to gloss over so much.
Well,
So-
they can't do that anymore,
That's-
and primarily because of us being on the internet and having that platform.
All right,
So
all right.
it makes a difference.
Oh boy. Oh, okay. You could have focused on so many things going into this business, and yet you focused on the news. Is there any particular reason why you chose that over the arts or music?
No, that's a good question. They tend to major media tend to point us toward entertainment, basketball, football.
Right.
rapping.
That's what I'm saying.
But business and politics control the way it controls our lives. I mean, in this 85% black city, we got the poorest. We're one of the poorest cities in the nation, despite all the assets we had at one time. We have our educational system is among the worst. Yeah, Detroit used to be a black
God.
mecca.
Yes.
But because people are not informed, because we're paying more attention to entertainment than the things that really make a difference in our lives, it's at a cost.
It makes me so angry when I think about the education I got
Mhm.
at Northwestern and Denby, and that you got at Southeastern,
Yeah, it was
and
more than that.
and you got
Northwestern.
at
and
North
Chadsey.
Northwestern and Chadsey. Well-educated folks coming out of Detroit, and look at what we're doing now. That's why.
Well, I think if they could do to the educational system as a whole what they did to the high schools back in the 30s, just kind of separate us.
Right.
But they profit, one, because when schools are bad here in Detroit, parents leave there, they take these super athletes that they have and they make money from that, and they take the brightest kids, and they take the dollars with them. So it's the educational system has been a cash cow for some people. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, well, if Betsy DeVos had her way, she'd charter everything, and we've got to fight that tooth and nail. But the most important thing we got to do right now is to teach these kids to
Yes.
read. We've got to teach them to read, and I hope that everyone. I'm sending this to every school board member. I never quit. They probably here he comes again. He's going to email me another one of his programs. But yeah, I'm going to keep doing it, school board, until you finally stop sitting up there like lumps. And I'm not talking about all of you, because there are a couple of you up there that have been good. But most of you are just sitting up there like lumps and we're doing the same thing that we've been doing, and to do the same thing that you've been doing when it's not working is a form of insanity.
But that's going to be a disservice to their children and their grandchildren.
That's right.
We all pay for that lack of education that they're not receiving now.
So what's the current state of the news business,
Well,
in your estimation?
as far as what we do, I'm really excited because our viewership is growing. People are really paying more attention to the news. People are doing more research on their own because we're one of the few black networks that have the right to broadcast democracy now. And
Democracy.
people should watch that every day because they have a different perspective on corporate, so-called corporate media. So I'm encouraged. And as we grow, because we've done debates, we've done town halls when the other networks didn't feel they had to do that, and so because of that, more and more people are coming to Detroit IPTV to find out what's going on.
That is great. Our endangered democracy.
And then we had that debate at the yacht club with courtesy of John Telford. That
Yeah.
was quite a success.
Oh, that was a wild one. That was. I like to use the yacht club, because I like that sweepstakes room up there.
Yeah.
It's intimate. We got maybe 70, 80 people in there.
Well, it was
the
a different
most.
environment.
Yeah, yeah.
It was definitely
yeah.
a different environment.
And
You're watching WJZZ Cool TV, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world.
Thank you, Chargy. I got to do another commercial though. Miss Virginia Starkey, fondly known simply as V, the proprietress of V's Boutique, offers a wide range of fine clothing and accessories for ladies. You can find all sizes of women's fine apparel in V's one-stop excellent customer service at V's Boutique that you can't find anywhere else in Detroit anymore. V's is at 16423 East Warren Avenue. 16423 East Warren Avenue, right around the corner from the Alger Theater and from one of the few libraries that is still open in the city of Detroit. And you can contact V at 248-662-6622. So patronize V's Boutique. And were you doing another commercial, or are we out of
No, I don't
commercials?
have any more to
Okay.
do.
Well, let me say this too. We're not voting in Detroit, so maybe maybe somehow or other, Tim, through DETIPTV, we can start encouraging our voters to vote, because it's less than 20% of us that's voting.
Right.
And men died for the right to vote. And I'm going to say this: citywide, countywide. I also like to say this: statewide, nationwide, up and down the line. We all have to vote Democratic, because there no longer is a Republican Party. The Republican Party has been taken over by Retrumplicans, who are fascists, who are neo-Nazis. And our democracy is in trouble if we don't get out the vote. So those are two things that I'm ranting about. One, get out the vote. Number two, we got to teach the kids in Detroit to read because they can't read. And we are interviewing Tim Moore, half-miler extraordinaire back in the 1960s, now CEO of DETIPTV, Detroit Internet Protocol Television. And talk about your shows a little bit, Tim.
Well, we produce 3 shows here in Detroit. One is Urban Interest. It's mostly news and interviews. It comes. We produce that Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Our host is Angela Matthews. She gets to interview people from all over the country because we have the affiliates. Quite often we'll tap into what's going on in those particular cities. I think a couple months ago, we interviewed the L.A. City Attorney.
Oh. Okay.
So that's one show. We do the boardroom as a panel of experts, and you've been on that a few times. Well, we talk about issues and debate and try to give analysis, which is sorely needed on a lot of the issues because sometimes people don't pay attention of the implications of the news stories that happen. So we try to have actually we have some of the best, brightest people in the city on the panel for the boardroom, and then we have one show we're really excited about is the sisterhood. We have these are four ladies. Actually, Sununda, who's East Indian.
Sunanda Corrado,
Yeah.
my girl, man.
Yeah,
She's Columbia University graduate.
Yeah, she's brilliant. Elena Harada brings so
Oh,
much. to the
Elena,
table.
another brilliant lady,
Yeah.
man. So knowledgeable. Whew. She was, she was on the school board that appointed
Yes.
me superintendent.
Oh,
Elena.
okay, yeah. And then we have Nubia Warford. She's an archaeologist. And then we have Tamika Davis.
Oh, Tamika, yeah, and her poetry.
Yeah. So
Hey,
we
you know what? I got a picture of her somewhere.
It's in the magazine. Sum up what you want us to know, and
This Tamika. This is Tamika right here.
that's so small, John. Nobody can
Nobody
see.
can see
It's
it.
in the Detroit Native Sun.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Well, listen.
Yeah, she's
when,
been on the show.
when we rebroadcast that for you on Detroit IPTV, we'll find the picture and put it up.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
So sum it up for us. What do you want people to know?
Well, I want people to know that we offer a different perspective and analysis on the news than so-called mainstream media. We have because sometimes it's challenging to get advertisers for what we do. We have a subscription service that you can, if you go to uintv.net and become a subscriber, that'll certainly help us because the shows we have. Movies, documentaries. We archive our shows here, and we have shows in some cases that were banned off of YouTube and Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, really?
yeah, because they've.
Why'd they ban them?
Well, actually, they
Too
say
risque for them?
Very
actually,
risque?
black empowerment. Is,
Oh, yeah, okay.
They
Censorship.
call that hate
Yeah.
speech.
Have you got something real quick? 'Cause this is
Yes,
it.
I do. I have something real quick. The turd that hasn't flushed, otherwise known as uncivil warfare, I wrote it on the January the 6th, 2021, on this evil and fatal occasion of the Capitol building invasion. The traitor Trump's collusion demands his execution. God yet hasn't pushed the lever on the traitor Trump forever. And when he does, I'm hoping it's the lever of the gas chamber because that sucker belongs in the gas chamber for the treason he has committed. We have been interviewing Tim Moore
Thank you for joining us today.
on the John Telford Detroit Show, and this has been a wonderful interview. Thank you for coming, Tim.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk to y'all, you and Shirley. So, how do you really feel about Donald
You've
Trump?
been listening to the John Telford Detroit Show with Dr. John Telford and co-host Charlotte
This
Jones
see
on
him in prison.
WJZZ Detroit Internet Television, coming to you live every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. Also streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Contact Dr. Telford at 313-460-8272. That's 313-460-8272.